Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you can hear me well and loud, and it's good to be with you again today. Let's see, there you are. Let's see if everything is fine in chat. Seems you can hear me. Fantastic. So great. There's not many of you today. It's only like 20 or so of you. We actually have some important news regarding next year, so maybe you will be you have to communicate to your peers after this webinar, or tell them what we discussed and what you knew, because it's actually what is about to happen next year that we're discussing today. So I guess everybody's interested. So while we wait for some more to join, I will just make an initial preamble so that you know the context of which we are talking. First of all, it took us 1 month almost from the last webinar, from the last live streaming we did. During this month, we put together several needs and considerations from groups of teachers, group of students, facilities, regulations, academic accreditation bodies. So a lot of things to put together in a document that is called Chronoprogramma, which means sort of a plan, timeline for next year, in which we detail how the academic activities are going to be organized next year. So far, actually, the ministry only have asked to provide indications for the first semester. We don't know exactly what they will be their requirements for the second semester. So we are unable at the moment to say whether we will keep on doing what we have planned for the first semester also during the second, or if we have to change slightly our plans. But of course, you will know as soon as we do. So we will keep you posted on that. But what we say today is certainly valid for the first semester, and it's likely to be extended to the second, although not sure yet. In doing this document, there are several things which you will read, because we will give this document to you. I only want to focus on something that needs, I think, more explanations and that may trigger more questions from you. That is how lessons and class activities are going to be organized. Then you will find the rest that it's more straightforward. But this has a logic that I want to explain to you as usual. So we can start from saying that what I'm going to tell you are general guidelines that are valid for the whole academy that we developed at the level of academic council. So it's high level in a way. So it's guidelines that then there are other people who actually govern and organize your specific single courses. So those guidelines already contain some exceptions that can be done to such guidelines in case your course leader, for example, feels that something needs to be slightly changed or adapted because of the content of the specific course. So, and also those guidelines will be giving ranges instead of specific numbers, because again, there is some degree of flexibility we need to give to course leaders in order to better organize exactly what you're doing. It doesn't make sense, at this level to decide something that is valid for everyone. Absolutely. It's good to have a balance. It's good to have a guideline, but then obviously there is a context. There is no recipe that is always good for everyone. So we want the people that are in charge of your courses to be able to adjust it when needed. So again, don't be thinking that whatever we say is universally valid. It's our model, and models, as any good model, can be adapted. So let's start by saying that next year, by default, our standard way of delivering your education, your tuition, will be in a blended mode, as requested by our Ministry of Education. What does blended mean? Blended means a mix between, or a blend, as the word would say, a blend between in-presence and off-campus activities. So you have experienced both extremes so far in your student lives. You've been experiencing the whole in-presence model, which is the one that we like best. You've experienced a fully online, fully remote mode, which we hope we will never have to employ again unless something goes back in terms of pandemic. We still have to be prepared for that, but obviously we hope it doesn't. So this is something in between, in a way. So we will have some content that will be handled in presence and some that will be dealt with online with digital means or off campus in any case. And how this will work. I'll start from the content in presence as it's more straightforward. Content in presence, so your classes, will be exactly as you know them. So you go to campus and you go to class, except that instead of being 35 or 25 students, depending on the level of the course in a class, you will be between 12 and 16. So basically a half or 1/3 of what you were used to, which for you in a way is a good way I mean, it's a better news. You will have the same class contact time, but to share with less other students. So in a way, teaching this way, your faculty can be closer to you and dedicate more time to you. Because that's one thing to be said already, we will need to split basically your groups into 2 or 3 other subgroups in a way. But obviously the amount of contact time for each individual person will remain the same. So we are basically providing more hours than last year. So every 100 hours, of course, that we used to provide in terms of teaching, next year will be 150, if not 200. So that's something will be on our end. But for you, you need to have the same amount of hours per academic credit, which you will maintain. So the part in presence is easy to understand. That's it. You will come, generally speaking, we will tend to prefer to do in presence anything that is more practical, project-based, lab-based, because it needs maybe some specific space or infrastructure or machinery which you don't have at home. And we will tend to have online, remotely, whatever is more theoretical and maybe doesn't require that level of interaction. And there is always a part in any course that is more delivering and less maybe participative. And for this part, it's different in every course. So on average, that's for you to have an idea of how much will I have to go to campus in general. It would be half of what you're used to. So in general, as an average, your in-presence activities will be half of normal, let's say. So if you're used to come to campus for 25 hours a week, expect to come for 12 or something. The rest of this time, you will be doing it remotely. Of course, this is a general, an average estimation, but we needed to be more precise because, as I told you, some subjects are more penalized by an online academic activity, while some others are not that penalized. So we went further and we gave to course leaders a better guideline, a more focused guideline. I'll read it to you now and then I will send it to you in writing. So basically we have identified 3 types of class, and you know them. Those are the theoretical, the project-based, and the very lab-based. So those are 3 sort of activities that have different balance between in presence and off campus. And then within the remote activities, we have identified another subset of activities, which we will cover later. Let's start from this balance between in presence and off campus. So for theoretical classes, in average, we will count on a presence in campus between 10 and 20% of your overall amount of course time. So if you have 100 hours of theoretical content, you will do 10 to 20 in campus and 90 to 80 off campus. Likely to be online, but off-campus activity could also be visits, studio visits, museum visits, or galleries. So it's not everything digital in off-campus. And that's what we thought was more appropriate because these kind of subjects is less affected by being delivered this way. That came to us as a consideration because of the feedback we had from you, from the faculty. So we thought this will not affect negatively your academic experience. And by reducing those courses to this 10-20% in presence, we are able to make more presence time where we need it the most, when we have project-based activities. So for those classes, you can expect 50–60% of activities in remote and 40 to 50 in presence, so about half-half. And for the ones that are more lab-based, you can expect to do in presence something between 50 to 80, so tending towards almost all of it in presence, and reducing up to 20–40% remote. So those are basically, if you sum them all together, you have your average of around 50% between in-campus and off-campus. But differentiating this way, we think it's more effective. So expect differences from course to course. These differences are good to be there because they depend on the context. We don't want it to be too different. That's why we have made those guidelines, so the academic experience is consistent throughout the academy. So this is about the balance between on-campus and off-campus activities. When we talk about remote, so off-campus, we have two sets of activities. Some of those are synchronous, so they happen at the same time for you and your teacher. Some others are asynchronous or not synchronous, which means your faculty provides some content, and then you can use that content, read or experience the content at a later stage whenever you feel like. So if you want, I'll respond later to you. Now I'll just finish this course. So what happens to your remote content? We learned one thing from last semester, and we actually had the very same feedback from you and also from faculty, two sides of the same issue, which is the workload. So what happened is, over a weekend we had to turn everything online. So basically, your teachers, some of them, at least, they felt they needed to spend their whole time online doing synchronous activities, perhaps classes or revisions. And in addition to that, they gave you homeworks or projects or extra things to work with. Some others did something different, but that was very frequent. And many of you said, some people complained, some others just noted, this is too much, because not only we have our normal contact timing as usual, but online, which is even more difficult, and we have to cope with the situation at our places that is difficult. We even have more to do. So it was like we perceived a higher workload this way. And also teachers, of course, they said, well, this is a lot more work for us too, because not only we have to spend the same time in class that we would spend in presence, we also have to mark or to grade or to give feedback or to select or prepare only this material, and that takes time. So they did it obviously because everybody wanted to go through the period, but we need to have a better approach to that. So this is something that it worked, but we found out it could work better. And that's also thanks to your feedback. So what do we think? Those asynchronous activities, they will have to be part of your academic experience, which means if a teacher gives you 1 hour of homeworks or 1 hour worth of homeworks, they could take the form of a project, an exercise, watching a movie, reading a text, making research, whatever you can do, not live, That's something that counts as a contact hour, at least in an offline, in an online mode, at least off campus. So, but we need to have a structure. We need to agree on how much work is in there for the teacher and for you, so that we can account for it properly. Because on one hand, you obviously deserve to get the contact hours that are calculated for the credits you're doing, and the teacher also, they need to work for that amount of time that it's agreed for that credit. At the same time, we don't want to draw into very complex calculations in the sort of, a 2-page PDF counts for 20 minutes, 3 slides count for 15 minutes, because there's no way out of that. It's, too complicated in my mind. So we want to have a stable criteria. What we thought is, very often we prefer qualitative over quantitative, because the whole difference it's made from the context. So 1-page PDF can take you 4 hours to understand, or 10 minutes. It depends on what's in it, obviously. So a calculation like this doesn't make any sense to me. So you know that your teachers, they put their programs into Mainaba. before the year starts. And then you find them. So if you click on see program, you can see the weekly breakdown of your activities. So in the past, that was done with different degrees of accuracy. Some teachers are very accurate in doing that. Some other are more generalists. But that process means that they prepare something. The course leader needs to approve it before you see it. So it's already an automated process. So we thought it would be a good way to be transparent about how much happens synchronously and how much happens asynchronously by explaining it into this weekly breakdown. So you will see in your New Year's Mainaba a weekly breakdown that will be something like, let's say project methodology, a course. Out of the 5 weekly hours, maybe the online component will be 2 hours for week 1, 2 hours, teacher explaining one subject, whatever subject it is. Then another 2 hours, a project brief that explains what is to be done for the exam and so on. So 2 hours of explanation. 1 hour, there will be a reading to be done asynchronously on whatever designer, Le Corbusier, or whatever architect you want. So you'll have a breakdown of the week of what is the synchronous and asynchronous activity with just a heads up on what is it about. So this way is a way for us to have discussion between teachers and course leaders about what's to be done and in what proportions. Then once the course leaders agrees to that, it gets visible to you. So you know that there is a pact basically between you and the teacher, that you can see that every week that's the workload you are going through. So we use the hour as the unit of measure. Don't expect them to be precise by the minute or by it can change. We need to both be flexible, but we want you to have an idea of what to expect in terms of workload, because it could be more difficult with off-campus activities. So we thought of this way, and we think that could be a good way for you to know exactly what happens. So to sum up, is a balance between in-presence and off-campus activities, around 50-50, with different degrees of presence depending on the course. And when we talk about off-campus, we think about mainly digital experiences, like something you can share over Blackboard, or something you can do off-campus, like individual research or study or visits to exposition that you do on your own, whatever it is that is not synchronous. So this is how we're going to balance it. Which brings me to respond to Fiona, who is asking me so for now, the course in the first term is not going to be online. Exactly. So the standard way of delivering, unless we hear differently from governments, so unless there is a new pandemic wave that prevents us from meeting again in person, the standard delivery mode will be blended. That's what we define blended. So that's to respond to Fiona. Hopefully, in the second term, things will go even better. So we'll be able to do more things in presence. If not, we keep the same way. But that obviously we'll need to see. Aaron asks, I'm trying to graduate in September or October session. Will it be possible to come and work at school for the learning projects this summer after the exams? No, we only have a very small closing couple of weeks in August. The laboratories are already open for access. So if you don't have access to them yet, and they will be in September, of course. So if you don't have access to them yet, if you find out why with your course leader, because we made lists of students with priority, but I assume if you are graduating, you may be prioritized. So if you speak to the assistant or the course leader, you will have already, you will need to book, obviously, and that will be kept. Next year, also, all the free access very hardly will be working. You need to book a session, which is also, in a way, a better way because it's more organized. You just need to know where you want to go. For Fanny Felicia, yes, there will be an alternative. I'm getting to that. So yes. So now we'll touch that because I see that you're asking for that already. Let me just gonna take Victoria's observation concerning the graduations. Yes, the graduations, so final project presentations, whatever you want to call them, they will be in preference in presence. If you cannot make it in presence, we'll be give you the possibility for the whole year to do them remotely. So that will be up to you. So just like we are doing now, hopefully with more possibilities to do it in presence. Exams in September, the other exams, so not the graduation, general exams will be done still online for September session. For the following session, which is going to be in February 2021, we will see. It's likely that we will do again in presence with remote possibility, but again, we will see. But obviously, we hope to be back in presence. That's one way that we're going to organize for next year. There is a second way. So as I said, the blended mode is the default, the standard, or our, let's say, preference for us. And I'm getting to there, so yeah, I'm touching that now. But obviously, not everyone is able to come back. So, or not everybody wants to come back. Maybe because, you know, situation at home may be different. You might not want to go to Italy or Lombardy or whatever for personal reasons. So if you want, and for this, you will need to make a specific request. And admin department will get back to you with instructions on how to make such requests. We will organize fully online courses, separate from blended. So in case that's a need of yours, we will do a separate set of classes that are fully online. So same contact hours, the program is going to be slightly different because as you saw, it's not the same to teach online and in presence. So some people, some other universities, they mean by fully online that they put a camera into the class where they make the blended version and they push that online. We don't want to do that. We don't think that's effective. When we say fully online, we mean a faculty member specifically dedicated to online with activities that are 100% dedicated to online. We don't want to, you know, economize by just putting a camera into a class that we are having anyway and pushing that online. So for online courses, this would be the modality, fully dedicated resources. And also this is why there won't be any reduction in the fee for online. I think somebody asked that. So if you choose to do online, it will be the same fees. Adi, how are you going to provide the same quality of final event as it's going digital? Or you mean the fashion show, or the final event, you mean the graduation? We are thinking of, if you mean the fashion show, it seems so, we are thinking of a different format, which obviously involves the press and operators from the industry for all courses, because you need to know, there's not only fashion in NABA. Fashion is obviously a big course, but every course has some sort of fashion show at the end. For example, design, we used to do the design awards. You know? It's a way to show the completion of the works. So for all courses, we have already identified different ways to do them while keeping the best quality that we can. So ask your faculty for fashion, Adi, because you can have details from them. But there are obviously plans for that. Thank you, Sandra, for the labs. Let me. International students, do we come to Milan or stay at our hometown? Saiya, that's then your choice. You can come to Milan or you can stay at home, and that's up to you. If you don't say anything, we assume you're coming to Milan. If you want to take it would be the commitment for fully online would be at least for one semester. Then if the situation changes for the second, you'll be able to switch to blended. But you receive instructions on how to express that preference. Tanishk, you're asking me what possible date will be the next semester start. Thank you, I haven't mentioned that. It will be the 12th of October, so slightly later than usual. That's we try to push it a bit forward because you have expressed feelings that you needed time to accommodate. So for whoever comes back to Milan, there is an extra week than usual to sort out some logistics. We can't really push it much more forward because then everything shifts and everything needs to be compressed. We don't want to compress things. So that will be the date. If you want to stop your tuition for a gap year, I believe that's something that it's possible to do to interrupt your studies. You can speak to, and that's not just for the pandemic, I think every time. So you can speak to coordination first, let's say, and then they will direct you on all the terms and conditions and how to do that. So I think that's still possible. Sandra is responding to Victoria, who has asked, okay, I hope that's responded now, because it's gone up in the chat. Okay, so that's for what's going to happen. So you will see that in writing very soon, and so you can make your own decisions on that. And while you think of other questions, because that's pretty much what I wanted to tell you, apart from another thing. So let me get another document that I'm reading at to try to give you the correct information. There is something I want to talk to you about, which is the Talent Harbor. As part of a recurring question that I have from you, that is, how do we get extra credits and so on? That's something I want to, my colleagues asked me to tell you about. It's on the 8th of July. You know what the Talent Harbor is, something dedicated to last year's student mainly. It will be digital, and there will be recruiters, there will be companies, there will be events. You have the possibility to register for them until tomorrow, the 30th of June, I believe. Some of my colleagues from the Career Service are here. They will send you the email to which you can write for more information. And if you didn't get the enrollment procedure, they will send it back to you again. So I like to think that this is not for the credit that you do it, because it's really a good opportunity in terms of work placement, and as are the workshops that we will do. But also it gives you credit, so that's something you need. Oh, actually 3rd of July, the deadline is extended, not 30th of June. So you still have a few days. And that's for mainly for graduating students, but not limited to. We want to reserve places for them, because they are the first who will enter the job market. So it's natural that we privilege those students. Obviously, if there are other openings, then you're welcome to join on a second moment. Let me see, I think I've missed some questions here now. No, Peter, the study plan is a different model, but no, all the responses you wanted from the fees and from the financials are in the document that was sent to you a couple of weeks ago. So anything you need to know is there, and nothing has changed for there. If there are questions or something you didn't understand about that letter from the administration, then I'm happy to respond, but that's the information which will be definitive for next year. And that also responds to Ophelia, I think. Oh, no, sorry, no, that's another question. Is admin office open? Yes, I think you can contact them and they will make an individual. If you need to go there, they make an individual appointment for you. Kokare, I think, again, that was all written. All the delays we had, I think, were said already. So for the future, I don't think so. Special requests, we will deal with them the usual way. So if you have a particular situation, we'll try to accommodate, but normally. Giovanna is asking me, what if we pay the first part of the tuition fee to start a blended semester, but because of the situation of a specific country, I can't go to Milan and I don't want to do a semester again online? Then I think the terms and the conditions apply. So I'm sure they are pretty clear in your contract when you subscribe, when you sign up for the new year. Then you will learn what are the conditions to, I don't know, suspend in this case, or cancel your subscription. It's going to be written over there. I'm sure that there are some times in which you can do it with different conditions. The more you go on with your timing, the less favorable the conditions will be, I assume. So that's what's going to happen. Campus tax, I don't know what exactly is the campus tax, Peter, but as I said, everything you need to know is on the letter you received. So I don't remember having seen any other reductions than the ones that were expressed. So whatever is this campus tax, then the fees are those, whether you come to campus or not. The campus, we are not really, if you really want to know the reason why, is we're not really giving up any campus space. So actually we are getting some more because we need to accommodate groups that are more than before. So I assume the property of NABA will have actually a higher rent to pay and still the same sort of expenses and utility. That's why there is no less expenses, even if you don't go to the campus. And as for teaching costs, as you can imagine, being the fully online delivery, completely dedicated to that delivery, also the teaching costs are the same. So from a costing point of view, there is no possibility of reducing the fees. Then from your perspective, of course, that's your opinion on is that worth it? Then that's something I can say. Everybody have their opinion. So you can decide it's not worth for you. You can decide it is. You can see if there are other alternatives. And again, that's up to you. But that's the response. Yes, you will have to pay the full fee also for online courses. And thank you, Matteo, for this specification. Then while I wait for other questions, I also have to tell you that the Consulta, so the Student Council, the official one, is now real. So you have 11 representatives elected. 2 of them are sitting in the Academic Council, so 2 of them have seen this document already and were able to express comments. And actually, they sent me a feedback on your behalf about what was desirable or less desirable in terms of blended and online education. So I wish to thank the Consulta for that. I urge you also to have a very close relationship with those colleagues of yours, because they have these representation powers. So they have a privilege line with which they can talk to me or to the Academic Council and make things and changes possible for you. So use it wisely. One thing that came up in the first meeting we had, it's something that we're doing now as an experiment, and if it works and if you like it as a format, we can continue doing in other forms, which is at the end of the document, there were some questions directly with a request that hopefully I could respond to those questions directly live today. I'm very happy to do that. And some of them I've responded already, but nevertheless, let's go. It's only 5, so it won't take us a lot, but I think it's good to also have this kind of interaction. So those questions, they put them to me as they thought they were the best or the most frequent question from the student body. And in the future, you can contact them, and obviously they will judge according to their representations if they want to do this again. I think it's a good idea to have this sort of question and answer live. So the first question, I translate live, obviously they were in Italian. They ask, the necessity of creating smaller class groups, is it going to undermine the overall contact time of each individual student, or faculty will have to teach more because of that? That's the question. We covered that before, but the answer is no, this is not going to undermine your individual contact time. So if each of you is supposed to have 100 contact hours, they will get 100 contact hours with faculty, which means we need to have more classes run than usual. So for every 100 hours, we will teach 150 or even 200 hours compared to last year, because your groups will be smaller, and we need to repeat the same class over and over more than once. So that's how it's going to be. Second question, is it possible to prolong, to continue the Adobe thing where you have the free license? We wish it was possible. It depends on Adobe, to be honest, because it was their initiative that we took on. They said it's expiring up as of July. They haven't mentioned continuing yet, so we don't know. We will still offer you the possibility to work on our computers remotely, so you can log into an ABBA machine and work with all the licensed software over there, which is for free, of course, included in your fee. So for you, that will be possible also in extended time, nights or weekends, obviously when we don't have a class in the lab, or we will take over some other student's computer. That's a way we'll try to do that. Then a question, is it possible for us as students to take part in the decision of the percentage of the hours to do online and in presence? Well, partly you had as those balance between off-campus and on-campus was also developed reading the feedback you gave. But when you talk about it for the future, obviously, now that you have access to where we take these decisions, then the answer is yes, everybody will have a direct contact in the meeting, which is the academic council, where we decide that. So we like to hear your voice. So you will take part as other will, teachers, us. So I cannot guarantee that you will have exactly what you ask for. Not always is possible, but sure, you will take part. Let's see if I miss the questions. Calendars. Oh, thank you, Sandra, for the calendars. Thank you for, okay, so that's covered. Fourth question, which is unclear to me, so I think I hope I interpreted right. If somebody from Consulta is here and I'm interpreting the question wrong, please let me know. Would it be possible to record some of the moments in presence, of class in presence, so that students remotely could actually see them? So now I'm not really clear about exactly what is the need of that. Maybe I see two possibilities. If the question is related to the in-process activities that I cannot come and see, well, all students, when we say you'll be split into groups, it doesn't mean that just one group will be in presence and the rest will have to follow remotely. Every group will have the same amount of time in presence. So there may not be the need to see other people's activity in class, if that's the way I interpret the question. Another way to interpret it would be, if I am studying 100% online, will I be able to see what they do in class remotely? I'm not sure this is going to be useful because you're going to be doing different things, because whatever is the program online, not necessarily is going to be the program for the blended, because they need different methodologies. That's the whole reason why we are keeping them separated. So we didn't really thought of providing such service because we don't see how that is going to be useful. However, what it can happen if, as already happens, if you want to record, placing the recorder on the teacher's desk, many teachers say, yes, we're going to record the online content. And again, if the teacher doesn't remember to do that, feel free to remind. If you want to film something during an in-presence class, ask your teacher, and as always, and maybe it would be also possible to upload it on Blackboard and let it be shared by the others. I don't see why not. Those are the three ways I interpret these questions and the responses. If I'm missing something, if somebody from Consulta is here, please be more specific while I respond to Dylan. Dylan asks, can you open the Blender system a little? Who will decide the percentage of this course is online, and what features does the course need to have to be in presence? Okay, basically, the decision of the general terms, like that theoretical courses will have 10 to 20% in presence, project-based 40 to 50, and lab-based up to 80, it's taken by the academic council. So those are ranges in which other people can decide better. Who are these other people, you're asking me? I would say course leaders first, and then area leaders and head of departments. We have a chain of command, allow me this term, with a higher responsibility that ultimately comes up to me. So course leaders are the ones who know your courses better, because obviously it's a one-to-one relationship. One course has only one course leaders. So they will decide whether one course is better to be taught. Of course, they decide that with your teachers, but the decision would be theirs. Is it better to give to this course more presence or less? Because obviously there is a number of hours in presence that we can organize due to the space. So it's quite high, this number, but still it's limited. So when we need to decide what to do with it, we can prioritize some courses over others, and that's their decision. There could be many criteria. I'd say that the idea is to give to in-presence activities the best outcome possible, which means to dedicate to this time activities that are extremely practical or that require physical contact or space, for example, performances or machines, or sometimes debates are better in person. If we want to have a quick session over some work, we can do it online. Maybe sometimes it's better to do it in person. So that's the idea of the criteria. So the guidelines are there because we want to keep a sort of a alignment among different courses. So we don't want a student from design to be totally different from a student from fashion design or to media. However, context must be kept into account. So that's the way we are going to do it. And then within a single course, if we decide that the course of project methodology is, 60% in presence, 40% remote, then what exactly to do with this time? The teacher will make a proposal to the course leader, who will approve it or ask for modifications. And then you will see this in Mainaba, in the program section. If you want to know more, we can organize some other kind of event for that, maybe course-based, in which we can, over September, for example, that could be an idea. Yeah, we could see to have some sort of more sessions like this, where you have, course leaders or teachers or faculty that explain better what is the work in progress. I'm not sure it's possible because it's many courses, but or through your representatives, we can try to keep you informed on the development of things. In general, you will receive your final schedule not very early because this is very complicated to put together. So even in normal conditions, we are not super early in providing you with your timesheets. We know that. These please expect to be not particularly soon, so definitely after the summer. So don't expect to have your timetables for July, because we really need to make a lot of overlapping needs to be possible to do that. So we have basically 2 to 3 times as many groups to put together. So the planning office is really challenged by that. Nico, if we chose a completely online program, do we have an opportunity to participate in the workshops? Yes, because workshops are for all students, not only for blended. However, they will probably take a different form. So thank you for asking, so we can cover these. Things like Talent Harbor, you will see, they get organized even now in July. They can be done digitally in a way. What is not possible for us to do is something intensive, because intensive means everybody all together at the same time, which is exactly the opposite that we should do. So very likely the week of the workshop is not going to take the form of a full week where everything stops and we only do workshops, because that will mean creating too much people together at the same time. So the form that is going to take, and I'm sorry I cannot tell it to you right now, but we have to prioritize the rest of the academic activities. So we will start planning that soon, and by September you will know better. There will be the workshop, so we don't have any intention to take them away. So because we think it's a good model for you to face, and I know you are worried about the credits too. So we also want to give you this possibility. It's very likely, so take this not as a definitive response, that they will take a sort of a diluted form over the whole year, because it's not possible to do 40 to 50 workshops in 5 days anymore. So we will try to see if we can make use of weekends or maybe nights and find other forms of extracurricular activities in addition to those which we have promised already, that are these integration activities that will take place. Some of them have started now, some others will be in September, October. So there will be all of those. We promise to you it will be there. Some of them, the majority of them, will be blended. Some others will be fully online. So that's to respond to Nico. But please don't expect the week intensive. That's something we are going to miss for this year. And I also like it very much. It's something I really enjoy. But the activities, you will have them. So probably over the course of a few more months. Dylan, I don't know what you're referring to. That is going to be nice. Probably to what Nicole has asked, I hope. Or otherwise, tell me. Fanny, when is the deadline for deciding if we want to be blended or online? It's probably going to be with the month of July, but the admin office will write to you. Start thinking about it though, because it's a possibility that you will have. Giovanna, we will start doing these extra activities in September, and it will be in turns, so you will not be able to go all together. You will know there will be for pretty much all subjects, especially the practical ones. That's going to be defined by your course leaders. It's not going to work like the workshops that you need to book in one or the other. So every course will have their set of activities and their calendar, and each of you will have a place in their slot. Then obviously those slots may not be going well with your agenda, so we'll see how we can trade slots between you and so on. But you will receive a calendar for that from September on. And you can all go, of course. The point there is that everybody who took a course in last semester will have some time that will be the same for everyone. So all students in a class will go through the same activities from September on, in different times though. So if your classmate is doing one at one point, you may be doing another one, and then you exchange. Because again, we still need to take turns, and we need to get into this state of mind for next year, that we'll have to do this by booking and in turns. That's also valid for the labs and for everything you used to do as a work-in sort of idea. It will be more organized. You need to book your space. What we really try to keep more spontaneous is the student lounge, because we don't want you to book for the student lounge, which it kind of kills the point of the student lounge. So for that, we think, we'll confirm it, but we think it's possible to give you a sort of a walk-in access policy. But please, you need to be mindful that every room is going to have a full maximum capacity, from bathrooms to classrooms to offices, and we cannot allow more than that into that, or we are going to be liable, criminally liable, for whatever attempted pandemic. So it may be that you try to walk into the student lounge and it's full, and somebody there will ask you to leave or won't allow you to go in. Don't take it personally, but that's how it's going to be if we want to keep it spontaneous. So that's probably the way it's going to be organized. Thank you, Sandra, for responding to Head. Yes, well, I told the plan for the workshops in a way that they're going to be more diluted over the year, and the IT promised me, even from last year, that there won't be any congestion anymore, that they will change completely the server architecture so that this does not happen. So hopefully between the two things, the more powerful machines, the different approach, and the fact that they won't be all together, maybe, hopefully that won't happen again. So that's the plan. I don't know if you heard what I said earlier. We don't have a plan now that I can tell you, because basically we worked only on the let's say curricular academic activities, because that needed to be fixed with more priority. We know that there are workshops, we want to do them, you will have them. That's what we're going to do next, basically. In the meantime, there's also a fifth question for the consulta, which was regarding actually the fees. They were asking if the fully online fee would be reduced, and I have to say I'm afraid no. So I responded to that already. So that's the last of the questions of the consulta. And obviously we are here for more, because that's more or less what I wanted to tell you as an explanation of what's going to happen. Just for your knowledge, because it doesn't apply to you, but as international students, most of you may be in the shoes of your prospect classmates or colleagues. For people who start first year next year, because they're not giving visas probably until the end of November, that's what we heard from the ministry. So there's no possibility for people who want to start their first year in October to do that. We are exceptionally planning a fully separated intake for end of January, early February. These will be slightly, it's only first years. They will be separated from you, so you won't mix with them for first year. Their program will be different timing, a bit more compressed, less holidays, so different. But then in the second year, they will join you back in your normal course. That's to allow for them to not lose the year and still have a blended opportunity. So to sum up, we have the blended version, which is the standard way of teaching and learning for us. That's the first option. You will have the possibility to have a second option, that is, if you want to take a fully online semester or semesters, if that would be possible still, doesn't depend on us, but on the ministry. Also the full year could be done online. And well, it doesn't apply to you, but we also give a possibility to people who are starting now to start a little later to accommodate. So that's how we are going to handle next year. It's very complex, but we also know that the needs are complex, so we are trying to address them. And regarding these live streams, so these questions that we have in advance from Consulta, I think it's a good way because it allows you to think of questions in advance, because I realize that maybe on the spot, you don't think of a question now and pops out later. Sometimes you email me and I respond via email, but it's good to have them live. So that could be something we will do also for next year. As for the live streaming, I don't know, I mean, I haven't decided whether we will continue them or not. For sure, we will have another one before the summer break, in case we have any more news, or at least to wrap up the year. If you think it's a format you want to keep, again, I'm available to any let's say, proposal. So whether this is a format you like, whether you prefer it differently, whether maybe we can try to have a sort of a more dialogic way where, now that we have the Consulta, it could be that I'm not the only one speaking. We can have guests in a way to discuss. That will give it, a better discussion sort of feeling, rather than a monologue by me and a chat room for you. So again, there could be many formats. I'm very happy to find one that you think is suitable and useful. So through Consulta or via email directly, feel free to make proposals. We will make some in any case, because I think it's good to keep this line open in a way. And that's about what I wanted to tell you. I don't see any other questions. So I'd like to say thanks again for your time. And I will leave you to, we all have exams from today on for the rest of the month. So again, thanks again for listening, and I will see you soon before the summer break. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.